Men of Reddit, what's something you wish women did less of during? Hate how my wife tries to hide parts of her body from me. I do this too. Growing up, my family always had an opinion about my body. Also, the guy I used to date before my currently partner didn't like my body. I guess I'm just afraid of my currently partner disliking some parts too. I've been married for 13 years, and the only part of my wife I haven't kissed is her literal asshole. And realistically, that'll probably happen one day when we're really bored and alone. If you love someone, you love all of them. I virtually guarantee whatever part you're insecure about, he thinks is cute, or hot, or he wants to kiss it just because. The girl I'm currently dating has some insecurities about her body, but the truth is, she could go bald and gain weight and I'd still think she's really hot. I was hooking up with this girl who it was like some switch just flipped, and she wouldn't take her shirt off in front of me anymore. We'd have, but she wouldn't take her shirt off or let me see her tits. It was strange to go from no problem to only half nudity. She'd refuse to talk about it and we just stopped hooking up. The thing is, with my ex-partner was the same, but when I felt comfortable I let him see the parts I didn't want him to see. I could tell he disliked it by his look. Needless to say, we started to have less and less. That's the thing men don't get. It's about trust. How much you trust them is directly related to how willing you are to share all your insecurities with them. Caught my husband looking at porn. I may feel like my tits aren't good enough. So I stopped showing them to him or taking my shirt off. Still don't like walking around him naked, because I know I don't look like the internet whores. I'm not sure it will get better. He says I need to work on my self-esteem, but when it's directly related to the fact your own husband has trouble telling you you're beautiful or why, it's hard to feel it for yourself. When your head already has so much negative self-talk, how do you just convince yourself to talk positively about yourself when you have no other positive comments to pull from? He hasn't touched my stomach in 20 years. Boobs, hips are all he touches. I get it. It's squishy now, after 3 kids, his kids, but now, it is unappealing. I hate how men only seem to care about looks. So yeah, the shirt stays on. It's your own fault. Deal with it. You didn't want to see it anyway. This can be very common for a ton of reasons that I'm sure you all have discussed. Just make sure that she knows that you love every bit of her, and it's okay that she is self-conscious about certain parts of her. You just want to help her build confidence about those areas. My wife thought I was weird for a long time for wanting to know every bit of her. It took years, but we eventually normalized being naked around each other. But everybody is different. You know your situation better. I just worship my wife like a goddess when her clothes come off in a very ridiculous way, and she finds it endearing. I know my husband wants my boobies, but I'm still nursing the youngest, and these tits have nursed 2 other babies. They're deflated, overly sensitive, and just annoying as hell to me. I feel bad that I'm always hiding them from him. Maybe there's some cream to desensitize them so he can have his fun, and I can pretend I actually like having my tits messed with. Hiding them from him and him respecting that you just don't want him to play with them for now aren't really the same thing. Make sure you tell him why, and clearly. We men are awful at getting subtlety. Never pretend anything when it comes to the intimate moments between you and him. If you aren't honest about it at those times, then you really can't really complain when he doesn't take notice of you when you are serious. Mine does this too. Then constantly complains and comments that she's fat, she does need to lose weight, she's in the danger zone with her weight, and that she has high blood pressure and other medical issues. At some point in time, going to look her in the eyes and just say, "You're right. Now, do something or shut up. I'm tired of hearing it." Then I'll get a slap across the face, lol. How do you even do that? Is it always under covers? Girl, whatever you got going on, they want it. Seriously, I am a 42 mom of 2 and my body is far from what it used to be. Still get hit on just down the shops. Husband still loves it. Hope you get to a place of self-acceptance. I know that a hard-found battle for some. That's my pleasure. We all need to lift each other up, much like my boobs. I wish you self-acceptance, love, and peace with yourself. Something that helps me is to think about the body parts function. Like, my boobs might be saggy, but they are cancer-free. Like, think about your legs. assuming you are able-bodied. Whatever your legs look like, there are people who would for your legs because they can walk, they can stand. People out there would give literally anything for your legs. I have girlfriends who can't achieve orgasm, so that's something else to be thankful for. For me, also doing exercise that was about me getting strong or learning AS and not just burning calories, helped me frame my body by what it can do and not what it looks like. For me, this was Thai kickboxing, pump, and doing weights. I got strong, but not muscly. Hope there is something there which can help you. Our bodies were never designed to be decorational. They are designed to move and lift and do stuff with, so I think it's helpful to think of our bodies are more utilitarian. Hope this helps. Not communicating. I can't read your mind, and I want to please you. While I'm decent at hints without words, if you want specifics, then you gotta give me specifics. To those who don't know, beyond mental life things, with different hormones at different times in the menstrual cycle, women can be hornier, easier to get off depending on the time of the month. Often, this is around when you ovulate, and usually accompanies a change in vaginal discharge. Lubrication quality uncooked egg white like discharge is a sign of being in your fertile period. The more you know. I briefly dated a girl who said I acted like I'd never been with a woman before because I was very passionate, saying things like, "Wow, really like you," during. She asked me once when I last had, and I said it had been a week. I didn't have the heart to tell her it was also last night. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean the other 4 billion women on the planet feel that way. Last girl I hooked up with afterwards said, "Do you want some advice? Go a little harder." Girls like to actually feel it. Girl I hooked up with previous to her had 2-3 orgasms each time we had from me doing the exact same technique. Girl before that enjoyed our, but I was probably batting 0.3 from that technique. My main takeaway from the first girl I mentioned was that she was self-centered and unable to realize that other people were different from her. When I approached my husband about a certain kink, I said I was into this specific thing and asked what he thought. He was unsure but said he was open to trying. So then he asked for specific details and I told him, then sent porn clips for examples. And then he was ready to go. I just told him I was into it and wanted to try, but I wouldn't bring it up during without previous conversations. I've been married for almost 20 years, and we definitely hit a bit of a dry, boring spell a few years back. We got married super young, and never had real education, and were just terrible communicators about Yule preferences. Then some friends of mine got into reading erotica, passed some stories along, and oh my, things I didn't even know about previously sounded really nice. One day a couple years ago, just worked up the courage and told my husband, "I read something that I think I might like, and I need you to help me try it out." I don't know what I was worried about. He was totally on board before I even finished the sentence. He still comes home and asks if I've read anything interesting lately lol. So all that to say that I think it's natural to be scared to bring things up, and feel like it will be received as criticism, but making it a team effort worked well in my case. It wasn't like, "Hey, I want you to do this instead." It was more, "Help me try something out." And after the first couple of times, it gets so much easier to say what you're needing in the moment, whether it's trying something completely new or just wanting a different speed, angle, whatever. I wish I would have learned this in my 20 seconds. We've been together since right out of high school. I was taught equals bad Baptist upbringing. He was taught literally nothing. So even now at 27, we both still have a bit of a stigma attached to. We like it, but it feels taboo all at the same time, you know? He asked recently would I suggest young men learn about from porn or erotica. I'm like, erotica, 100%, they paint a much better picture in books. Thanks for the sharing, really. The team effort thing makes me feel less like I'm scolding him, more like, let's explore together. That's what I'm going for. You guys seem incredibly wholesome and adorable, by the way. I wish you both many more years. I think the problem is that most women are afraid of hurting men's feelings, and what the consequences of that might be is such a sensitive topic, and not all of us are well versed on how to communicate ourselves during it. With that being said, I've definitely seen and heard of men who are not open to such feedback, no matter how it's put. Communication is so important, and it needs to be approached with kindness and openness from all involved. Can I say, do you genuinely want to please a woman? Ask a lot of questions. My BF literally always asks where my clit is. Maybe it's funny, he still can't always locate it lol, but I'd way rather him ask than just finger bang my labia into oblivion. A lot of women hate speaking up for themselves due to a lot of reasons. It's a really vulnerable act, you can get shy, etc. Knowing that the dude you're with is actually aware and cares about your pleasure in a genuine way makes a huge difference. This is something that has really hindered my relationship with my partner, to the point that we're considering ending it completely. We have really disconnected recently, especially in the bedroom because of this. But it isn't as simple as it seems. My girl needs constant feedback. The second I go silent, she assumes I'm not enjoying her and says I'm done. So here's where it gets tricky. For me to climax, I need to go to that special place in my mind, and I need about 20-30 seconds of silence. She can be as vocal as she wants, but I need to be quiet just for the last half a minute to finish. But like I said, the very second I stop making sounds, she checks out. Obviously, she wasn't like that in the beginning. It's just got progressively worse as the years have gone by. So while communication is very important, it became a slippery slope in my relationship and got to the point where communication turned into a needy hindrance that made empty for us. So my point is, please allow yourself or your partner a chance to get to where they need to be. Sounds like she's developed some insecurity that may have nothing to do with you or even with. Like maybe she's worried that she can't possibly be attractive enough or why enough or good enough for you to want to be doing that with her. And those thoughts are so intrusive they have to be kept constantly at bay by a steady stream of affirmations from you. Getting that upset over a few seconds of silence goes well beyond wanting feedback. Something's up. I hope you and she, or more likely she and a counselor, can get to the bottom of it. I've heard that 100% silent, no orgasm can hurt egos though. My husband knows that everything I do is fake, but has asked me to fake it since he gets off by getting me off. I personally don't like faking it and would rather just sit in silence, eyes closed, or just talking about everyday things, but that doesn't go over too well with the people I've been with. Honesty would open up the chance to improve things. The only people I could see disagreeing with this are people who do not believe themselves even capable of giving pleasure. And faking stuff kind of means you think of your partner as incapable of doing things the right way, so best get it over with. Sounds like a pretty humiliating process for literally everyone involved, to be honest. The worst is the bull, you're the best I've ever had, knowing damn well it wasn't good. Lamal, like not only do I have to think about the fact I was trash in bed for whatever reason. It happens to everyone sometimes, whatever, but now you're lying to me about it lol. How would that lie benefit either party? I dunno. Are we honest, and I have zero poker face. I'm not going to flatter someone and let their ego go forth and disappoint another eager beaver. I like to wipe the equipment down for the next user, thanks. Hell, a couple months ago, after my first date in years, I had to sit on a heating pad for 3 days after the first time I took them home. Jesus Christ. My cervix was terrified, but holy, you don't need words to let your partner know their opinion. Never listen to what they say. Go by their actions. If they weren't just blowing smoke up your ass, they would be too busy up in there to do much of anything else. If not, it was garbage. They just don't know if you're crazy yet. It hurt to be a little less self-conscious. If you're into it, odds are we're loving it. Many years ago, and it's still burned into my brain. Seems like this really struck a chord with a lot of people. Thank you for the support and for sharing your similar stories. Never let anyone talk to you that way. You're beautiful and amazing, and someone who really cares about you would never speak to you so cruelly. And to the sad, pathetic little, who has taken it upon themselves to troll me by commenting fatphobic, gross, triggering, unpleasant things across lots of subreddits I comment on. Your comments say more about you than they will ever say about me. And FYI, I dumped him for it, not the other way around. And he begged me to take him back, so I did. I shouldn't have, but I learned from it a few years later when things didn't get much better, and I finally did dump his. This is why women don't want to share these things. But I'm still glad I did, even though it got me targeted by this nutjob who clearly has some serious issues. Lesbian here, but my ex-girlfriend would tell me everything wrong with me, and that it would be easier not to cheat if I was tiny instead of tall and more feminine, and make fun of everything, even my shoe size. I was a model for years, but had low self-esteem. It says more about them than you when someone is so insecure and shallow that they cut down someone they are with. Finally learned that. I feel this so much. My ex-husband did pretty much the same thing. Used to tell me I was fat and flabby, and that I was scary without my makeup completely done, like I'm going to a club. He criticized me in front of anyone and everyone. After I had my second child, he complained about my boobs, so I had them done. Funny that he thought all these things, but he convinced me to dance after I got my boobs done. Huge mistake. It gave me the confidence I needed to leave his after 11 years. I am 5'4", 110 pounds, and I have a tummy pouch. It's your uterus. I promise you, you cannot have a flat stomach and be healthy. The underwear models with flat stomachs are not healthy. You can't exercise away your organs. If a woman has a completely flat stomach, it means there is zero fat or muscle there. Having that little pouch means you are healthy, and the right people will think it's beautiful. As a bisexual woman, a woman's tummy bump is one of the most attractive physical traits, IMO. And I can confidently say that most sane and decent people who are also attracted to women agree. I hate these men. Had to jump in on this one. That tummy pouch you refer to about it being her uterus. I'm a woman. Sometimes it is the uterus, and sometimes it's just fat. It doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy at all. I have multiple fibroids, which is the reason why my stomach is distended. This is not an indication of being healthy in the slightest, as fibroids are tumors, though can cause massive problems with your periods and other organs. If the fibroids are pressing against them. My own fibroids have caused terrible periods, and I'm due to get a hysterectomy next year. I'm with you there. When I was 8 and just starting puberty, my legs gained shape before a growth spurt. My father asked if my thighs were rubbing together when I walked. I became so body conscious, whereas until that point, I had no idea. He struck again a few years later, after a doctor visit. He had to take me to for some forgotten reason. I was 5'7" and 140 pounds. He was hung up and made some unintentionally cruel comments, just being thoughtless. I was scarred. Found out later my mom became bulimic. I thought it was a presentation of her terminal illness. He and I have had words. Even my sister got involved, as he said something stupid to my daughters about their weight. Makes me so mad. After engaging in full mama bear mode, I also made it clear that I would have to stop visits if he continues to find it okay to speak about their weight. He even said something to my youngest, whom I affectionately call my baby giraffe, 10Y56, and highly active. Looks like she's 19/20ths from a slight distance. But yeah, it's just not okay for people to behave this way. Buddy asked for his commentary. Apologies for the mini rant. It's something I'm passionate about, that type of thing. And before it is said, he's not a pedo, just had his heyday in the 70s, when hedonism made a comeback. This is why more people need to require actual therapy after multiple procedures. You can't fix surface level problems when your head is a mess. I see 20-year-olds getting procedures when their features haven't even fully developed. It's just going to require upkeep in the future, and there is only so much they can do. No one looks like a filter in real life. I hope she wakes up and sees that she's not the problem in the relationship. Some people get off on that control, and they don't care about the toll it takes on the person. My ex-husband told me he would leave me if I didn't lose weight. I was actively going to the gym and was quite skinny and fit. I always have been. We were out shopping once and passed a mirror, and he said, "Look at you. Stand up straight and suck your stomach in. Why do you look like that?" Divorced him because you. But now I'm remarried and pregnant with my first child. Seeing my body change like this is so mentally difficult, and my husband is incredibly supportive. But I don't think he quite understands why I cry almost every time I look in the mirror. I was fairly attractive when we met, and I know he doesn't see me any differently now, but I do, and it's hard for me. I still hear my ex telling me to lose weight every time I palm her, so you can understand how would be quite a vulnerable and insecure time for me. I do try my best though. Okay, so like real talk though, I had an ex, who was in fact a larger girl, which wasn't really an issue, just a fact, who would point out that or ask if she was fat somewhat often, and I really had no idea how to respond. Like I tried to deny it or downplay it a few times, and she basically blew it off, or just went, "You're just saying that," and it really didn't seem like she wanted me to agree with her either. Eventually, us kinda started either just being quiet, or making a non-committal joke, and then changing the subject. How on earth am I supposed to respond to that? Their boobs. A lot more women need to hear this. The pressure from the media to be a certain size and shape is real, and sadly some will have had partners or others make inconsiderate comments. I read on a mommy forum about women with inconsiderate husbands. One husband wanted his wife to wear a shirt while having because he thought her breasts were too saggy after breastfeeding their child. She was very hurt that a husband didn't deserve a wife or child. Another woman said her husband kept urging her to wear certain bras during. At first, she thought it was because he liked those bras. Unfortunately not. He didn't like how her breasts changed. And another man said he would not have married his wife if he had known her breasts looked a certain way. They only had in dark rooms before. Reading their stories made me extra celibate. While many men are glad to be intimate, there are a few Oz out there, and you might not know it until that very vulnerable moment. People are good actors until disappointed. Then the real monster comes out. You would think so, but an ex told me, "You're the biggest girl I've ever dated." Usually I date a size 2. I was 120 pounds and a size 6. It was 20 years ago, and I'll never forget it. Another ex called me up out of the blue and told me everything which he found unattractive about me. It was a 32 minutes phone, and 30 minutes of it was him telling me I'm fat. I should have hung up, but I was too busy crying. Weirdly, he didn't want to break up, so I did it for him. I can't fathom why anyone would do that, but it's happened twice. One was just last month. It's almost like they were purposely trying to ruin my life. They'll never know how close they came. I can feel my partner starting to flinch and tense up whenever she finds something pleasurable. I immediately grab her body, wrapping my arms around her back and pressing her against my chest, pinning her down with all my body weight, and prevent her from doing things that would interrupt her pleasure, delay her orgasm. She then comes very violently, and I give her time to compose herself after. Yes, she worships I'm nothing special. I just know she won't come if she keeps moving, and she thinks I've discovered the 5th dimension or something. Hooked up with girls several times. She was drunk for all of them. She would hump me back in missionary. Felt weird, but didn't realize if I popped out. So I did half humps not to come completely out and hurt myself. Kept messing up my rim, however you spell that. She probably had someone criticize her for just laying there like dead weight when she was on the bottom. So now, she feels like she needs to move and help the motion more. If it's a long-term partner, you'll eventually learn how to move in tandem, which I personally prefer. I hate just laying there, but don't be afraid to tell her how you feel. Communication is key. Absolutely. Only hooking up with someone when they're drunk isn't fun. It can definitely make you question why they want to be with you in the first place. Plus, drunk is usually very odd and sloppy. Lol, she prob wasn't even aware she was doing anything weird. Whenever I'm dating someone new, I always make it a rule for myself to have for at least 1-2 months before drunk is even on the table. Lol.